everywhere from £50 a week up to £100 million pounds, and they're different. They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country, to be fair. Different countries have different tax laws, so with different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relaks Radio. Now, I'm very, very excited to be here because right now we're going to be talking about how exactly, or rather, what exactly are the changes that is happening here in the UK in terms of, the travel restrictions. All right. So how exactly will those travel restrictions change today? Now, that's what we're going to be talking about. But before we head into that topic, I'm hoping that you're having an absolutely amazing morning, that you're feeling absolutely rejuvenated after, the past weekend, and that you got enough rest, ample rest, and time to, sleep and let all of those bad vibes, bad energy get away from you, especially during the weekend. Okay, because I know how much the weekend is important, not just for you but for me as well. I absolutely love the weekend, and I think anyone who's an adult loves it as well. All right, because it only makes sense that we enjoy ourselves, that we take much of that rest that we need during the weekend. Okay, now I want to quickly get into our topic, but before we head into our topic, I want to very quickly remind you that you can get in touch with us. All you need to do is just contact me on 07852473473. All right. If you can't text, you can actually call. Don't forget to do that. I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you're feeling. I want to know what your thoughts are as well. Okay. So don't forget to do that, and don't forget to go follow us on our socials, which is Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to us on YouTube. And that way you can always make sure you're updated and informed. And another way for you to be in touch, for you to be informed, is actually to make sure that you get on board with us, that you share your thoughts, you share your opinions by downloading our app. Right now, our app is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That way you can make sure that you're always sharing your thoughts with us, and you're always sharing your opinions with us as well. Okay, so right now let's actually talk about how the travel restrictions are going to change today. Now, people who are fully vaccinated in the US or European Union will no longer actually have to isolate when arriving in the UK from an amber list country. Now, these decisions were actually taken last week, and if you're not aware of it, today at 4 a.m. they actually lifted a lot of these restrictions that were in place to make sure that all these travelers that were coming from the UK, that were coming from the EU, or rather that were coming from the EU and the US, did in fact have some formal way to come to this country. And obviously, if they were fully vaccinated, they actually don't have to be in quarantine, which again is an incentive for them to actually come to the United Kingdom. So in a way, you can see that the government is trying to boost our tourism and our hospitality sector, because that was two of the biggest industries that had to face a lot of loss last year due to the pandemic. And it wasn't just last year, it was there for about 7 months for this year as well. So it's been about 1.5 years, roughly over 1.5 years, but obviously we know how much they suffered losses as well. So this is with the hope of boosting our tourism and our hospitality sector. Now, the rule change actually comes in across the country from 4 a.m. Today, and the UK government said that the change, which was in fact announced last week, will help to reunite family and friends and loved ones who actually live abroad, right? So this was actually with the hope of reuniting families, bringing people together, and I'm, in a way, it's something very nice to do, because we know how much we've missed seeing our families through the past through the past 1.5 years, right? And it's been a completely new feeling. We've had to adjust to so many things. We've had to adjust to how much life has changed, and be completely fine with it as well. And that's just what it is. So obviously, in instances like that, it's in fact very scary, and it's in fact a lot, a new feeling, a new adjustment process altogether. So because the UK government actually wants to reunite families, they want to make sure that people who haven't seen their families can actually see their families. That is what is currently happening now. That's why they're actually easing all of these travel restrictions as well. Now, airline bosses have in fact welcomed the move, but they're calling for more countries to be added to the UK's green travel list. Okay, now travelers will still need to either take a lateral flow test or even a PCR test pre-departure, and even a PCR test on the second day after they arrive, right? And this is to basically ensure that they don't have COVID, to make sure that they're protected, because obviously, in terms of travelers and people who are coming here to the UK, we need to make sure that they don't have COVID. All right, so that's why they are going ahead with this. That's why they're telling them this is what the changes are. Now, under 18s rather will actually be exempt from isolation, and some will actually not even have to test depending on their age. Okay, now since 19 July, people have actually been double jabbed in the UK, or rather people who have been double jabbed in the UK have not had to isolate when arriving from amber list countries, right? But obviously all the other travelers are required to quarantine for 10 days when they do so. Now, tougher rules also remain in place for France, and the government received a lot of criticism for this as well, with travelers who come from France still required to actually quarantine even if they have been double jabbed. Okay. Now, Transport Secretary Grant Shapps actually had said that this will be reviewed at the end of this week, all right, which is obviously the end of this week. And as a part of all those changes, remember those international cruise ships? Well, they were able to depart from England from today, or rather, they are able to depart from England from today onwards, right? And this was after a 16-month pause. So obviously, that is something that we can all look forward to as well. Now, international cruises have also been allowed from Northern Ireland since Saturday. Okay, these are some of the changes that are currently there, but make sure you stay tuned, because I will be back with more changes. I will be back to share some more changes with you as well. But until then, make sure you stay tuned, all right? Because we're going to head into a small break, and after that, we will be back to discuss all of this.
Again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son.
I want to talk about, how the generation gap, has how much it's changed, especially when you check the youth nowadays in comparison, to people back in the day.
I'd say when I was younger, it was more disciplined. Not now.
In comparison to now.
Not at all. Not now. The way things are nowadays, the younger generation, you seem that they can't accept the word no. If that makes sense. They can't
accept rejection, essentially, is all you're trying to say.
Yeah, they can't accept the word no. So if you how did I do? Well, you didn't do very well. And they get upset. And when I was a youngster, my father used to say to me, because I used to be sport mad when I was very young. Well, I still am sport mad, but like participating in different sports. And if I had a bad game, for example, I'd say to me, you had one to forget. That's it.
Your dad sounds like a smart guy. I mean, yeah, that's the real fact of the matter, yeah.
He'd say to me, you had one to forget. Get over it. And that was it. So I'd dust myself down and do it again. But now, if you say to a child, if I went up to a child and said, you've had one to forget, God, there'd be an inquest. An inquest. Me, why did you reject my son? Oh, I haven't rejected your son. Or daughter. I've just told them that they need to buck their ideas up.
That's the truth right there. I mean, if you think about it, if you check the generations, like right now in the US as well, I've seen a lot of these things as well. In the UK, you get medals for participation. But what's the point?
What's
What
the
are you
point?
trying to? Yeah, what's the point? Either you win or you lose. People are so afraid to put that whole notion of lose. When it comes to right now, the generation gap is just crazy. How much a lot has changed. Social media has taken control of our lives, and we don't even realize it anymore. We're crippled because of it.
That's absolutely right, Nick. Because as you said, nowadays it seems that you get rewarded for failure. For the life of me, Nick, I can't get my head around that. Perhaps I'm just getting old and morbid, I don't know. I just can't get my head around how you could be rewarded for failure.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio. Now I tuned into the sunrise and I'm here to keep you company all the way until 9 a.m. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you share your thoughts with me. Make sure you share your opinions with me because I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you're feeling, especially with the new changes that are happening here in England. Okay. Obviously, we know that travel restrictions were in fact eased today at 4 a.m. for travelers from the United States and the EU, and what exactly it means for you, right? What do you feel? Share your thoughts with me on 078-524-73473 because I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know what you feel. And if you have any thoughts, any opinions that you want to share with me, text me, call me, whatever it is that you want to do that. All right. Don't forget to do that. Now, something else that you can actually do is to go follow us on our socials. That way you can actually make sure that you're updated, you're informed about everything that happens, not just here in the United Kingdom, but in fact all over the world as well. And the reason I'm saying that is actually because right now we need to make sure that we're always informed about everything that happens all over the world, right? And obviously it's because there are so many changes that are happening, there are so many things that are happening. It's obviously very, very important that you're aware and you're informed about whatever happens. Now, the best way for you to do that is obviously go follow us on our socials, go follow us on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, like us on Facebook, and subscribe to us on YouTube. But also go download our app, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That way you can actually make sure that you're informed and you are aware about everything that happens, not just here in the UK, but like I said, all over the world. And you're also joining to the you are also contributing to the conversation live, and you're letting us know what you're thinking. Okay, so now to get back into our topic, what exactly are the changes that will happen from today onwards? Now, the government, like I said earlier, has in fact faced increased criticism over its travel policy in recent weeks since placing France on the new amber plus list, rather, right? Which means that travelers from France will actually have to quarantine for 10 days regardless of vaccination status. Okay, now ministers actually said that the decision was due to an increasing prevalence of the beta variant of coronavirus in France. Okay, so even though this is the case, a lot of people are criticizing this move, and even people from, or rather, ministers from France are also criticizing this move as well. Now, in a letter to Mr. Shaps, the leaders of UK Airlines actually described the change that was currently being made to let people from the UK, from the EU rather, and the US, letting them come here to the UK. These airline bosses actually describe this change as a positive step, right? And I think that's something that we can all be happy about as well. It is in fact a positive step, right? But they said that they were very concerned that the UK aviation sector was not on the path to recovery, and this was actually due to the continued restrictions that are being imposed on international travel, right? So obviously, it's not just here in the UK, but especially in other countries as well, there is a lot of international travel restrictions. And with all of that, the aviation sector is actually losing out on a lot, right? And they've they're also another industry that has had to face a massive loss during the past few months because of all these restrictions that were in place in terms of international travel, right? And they said that the green status should actually become, or rather increasingly become, a default for countries, because they said that, because of the fall in coronavirus cases, and also how much of the world has been populated right now, especially in the UK, that they should start adding more and more countries to the green list. So ultimately, even though this is what they think and these are their thoughts and opinions on it, ultimately it is up to the government to actually decide what they're going to do with those numbers, what they're going to do with that information, whether they're going to ease those travel restrictions or they're going to tighten it, or it's just going to be the way it was, right? Because ultimately, we have to protect our country, we have to make sure that we keep our country safe as well. So obviously all of these things are in play, all of those things are influenced, or rather they influence the decisions that the government has to take. Now, airline bosses actually also warned that the UK aviation industry was in fact far behind its European equivalents, right? And the reason they actually said this was that travel bookings at pre-pandemic levels were actually 16%, compared with 60% in Germany and 48% in France. All right. So as you can see, that is in fact quite a large statistic, right? Because if I'm not mistaken, it was 3 times the amount here in the UK in France, whereas it was 5 times the amount here in the UK in Germany. So obviously that is what they're calling and saying as well. They're saying, look, so many changes need to be made, especially because even before the pandemic, this industry actually had much lower bookings, much lower bookings in terms of travel, in terms of making sure that these people could actually travel to the rest of the country, to the rest of the world. All right. So obviously that is what we're talking about. That is what is happening. And I want you to let me know what you think about this, right? Because look, I understand that when it comes to decisions like this, it's not only for us. It's not only for all these travelers, but I need to know what you think and I need to know what you feel as well. Okay. So share your thoughts with me, share your opinions with me. Text me on 07852473473. Because I want to know what exactly it is you are thinking in terms of all of these changes, in terms of what these airline bosses are saying, in terms of what exactly the government needs to do to solve these problems, right? And do we actually need to wait much longer to ease these travel restrictions, or is it actually a smart thing to be doing right now, especially even though vaccination is happening, even though people are or rather people are less, there are less restrictions for people than there used to be. There is still a surge of COVID-19 cases, right? So do let me know whatever it is you're thinking, do let me know what you're feeling. But right now we're actually going to head into a small break, and after that we will be back to keep talking about this. But until then, make sure you stay tuned. All right.
And it gives them something to look at, and it makes them laugh. It makes them laugh. So that's why I do it.
Oh, and it could be a really good pickup line as well. Ladies who ask, "Hey, excuse me, so why are you wearing something so colorful?" I mean, hey, you can always have something up on your sleeve. I mean, got me thinking. You want to stand out. Why do you want